Hi, it's Troy Griggs with Obsidian Wisdom. Today we're answering the question, what should I be doing when I'm 10 years out from retirement? When you plan on retiring, whatever age that is, you could be 20 planning on retiring at 30, you could be 30 planning on retiring at 40, you could be 50 planning on retiring at 60 or 55, 65. You get what I'm saying? But if you're 10 years out from retirement, this is enough runway for you to be able to make adjustments and tweaks to your plan to make sure that you're able to hit whatever your mark is. So the first thing you normally want to do is you want to make sure that you're sitting down with your financial professional. Hopefully it's a fiduciary advisor, someone who has to put your interests first, and you just sit there and lay out what it is that you expect in retirement. So in the Wisdometric framework, I refer to this as the 3 steps of the Wisdometric framework. And the step 1 is the knowledge, step 2 is the understanding, and step 3 is the wisdom. I will often say knowledge shows you how to make money, understanding shows you how to keep your money, and wisdom shows you how to multiply your money. And so you want to make sure that you are sitting down and laying out your overall vision for your retirement and making sure that you have the exact plan. And that plan should be the destination that you're going to, which is no different than if I was to get in my car right now and want to drive somewhere. I have to know where I'm at and I have to know where I'm going, and then I get the best plan from there. Now that plan could be adjusted if I say I want to take the scenic route or I don't want to pay tolls or there's different accidents and I can give in different routes. But you always have to know where you are at and where you are going. And your retirement is no different. Next, you want to make sure that you're reviewing your contributions that you have set up with your employer. So if you said, you know what, I'm going to put in 20% of my paycheck and I'm going to get a match at 5%, or if you said I'm going to put in 5% because I'm going to put up to the match, you want to make sure that you're reviewing just where that money is going. Is it all going into stocks? Are these stocks aggressive or safe? Because when you're 10 years out from retirement, you don't have the same amount of time for your money to grow if you lose it in a recession or some sort of a dip. So you want to make sure that you're protecting some of your gains. Now, we're not saying to pull all of your money out of the market and put it in like a money market account or something like that. Like, we're not trying to be that conservative, but we are trying to keep in mind that I only have 10 years. So if something happens this year and I lose like 25, 30% of my retirement income, I may have to work an additional 2 to 5 years to make that back. And if that's not something that you have considered when you're 10 years out, you want to make sure that you really think about that. And so you look at how your money is being given in your retirement plan, and then you may have to adjust the allocations. So currently, if you have like 80% going into aggressive stocks because you never looked at it over the past however many years that you've been working and putting the money in, well, then this may be a good time to say, you know what? If I'm going to retire in 10 years, then maybe I should move a good percentage of this down. Maybe I should only have like 40% invested in stocks. And then maybe I shouldn't have them in the most aggressive of stocks because hopefully I'm pretty close to hitting the number. I would say even if the plan doesn't exactly meet the number that you want in 10 years, I would at least still say, you know what, make the smart investment decision and adjust your portfolio accordingly. 10 years out is also a good time to really start thinking about your home. Are you going to downsize your home as you retire? Did everybody move out? Do you not want to live in the state that you're currently living in when you retire? Are you going to increase your house because you're going to have all of your kids and all of your grandkids and everybody's going to live at your house like it's this compound and everybody's going to have a great time? Whatever that looks like, you want to start looking at your home in that sort of perspective. Now, some people just say, you know what, this is my home, this is where my kids grew up, this is where my family was, I'm going to stay here. And that's fine. You just want to simply be deciding what you're going to do with your home. Others of you may say, you know what, I'm not going to hit my numbers by just my investments and things like that, but I may be able to use some of the equity in my home. You would start looking into a home equity line. You would start looking at the rates and deciding if that makes the most sense for you. If you give yourself 10 years and you do decide you want to use your home, now you've given yourself the opportunity to be prepared ahead of time. Maybe you get the approval now while you have the income in the job because you may not get it later when you start retiring or you lower the amount of income that you have. When you're 10 years out, you can then decide at what point does it make the most sense for me. Also, if your plan is to use the home equity line, but you don't budget for some reason, well, now you have enough years to be able to pay down some of your debt. You want to be able to give yourself that 10 years out because if everything doesn't work out exactly as you want it to, like on day one, you're giving yourself many years to be able to get everything set up so that the plan that you want will be enacted. And I think that's one of the beautiful things when you're 10 years out. You have so much more time that you don't have to be stressing or worrying about if it works today. It's not about working today, it's just about designing the plan so you know that where you're at now and where you want to be, and then you start taking the steps to get from where you are to where you want to be. Now, if you're someone who's over the age of 50, then you have what's called the catch-up provisions that you can start taking advantage of. These are going to be in like your IRA accounts, your Roth, your traditional IRA, where you normally put in $6,000 a year, at least that's where it's currently at, and you can put in an additional $1,000 each year. Your 401ks have similar structures where you have this ability to put in more money than the limits. Now, depending on your current structures of your bills and your finances, you may not be able to take advantage of that right away, but at least if you're 10 years out, you can plan to take advantage of it, where you start allocating your money in a more effective way where you can put it in these accounts. It would be great to be able to put more money inside of your Roth because that's tax-free money in retirement. Who doesn't want tax-free money in retirement? You also have the ability to do what's called a backdoor Roth, and I'll put a link to the video of that. But a backdoor Roth is just a very fancy way of saying I can use a traditional IRA and I can turn that into a Roth IRA, and then I'm able to continue growing the money that way. It's called a backdoor because most of the time that people use it is because they don't qualify based on the incomes that they have. And if you're wondering about the income limits, if you're an individual who makes over $144,000 per year in 2022, well, that means that you do not qualify for a Roth. If you file jointly and make over $214,000 in a year, then you don't qualify for the Roth as a couple in a household. And if you fall into either of those groups, then the backdoor Roth would be the best move for you. Next, you want to make sure that you have a plan in place to get rid of your debt. You don't want to take a lot of debt into retirement. So whether you want to get rid of your car payments or your house payments or your credit cards, this 10 years out is where you would outline exactly what you're going to do to get rid of all of your debt by the time that you retire. This is going to significantly improve not only your retirement, just the feeling of not having to owe anybody, but also gives you a lot of freedom as far as the amount of income that you need. It significantly reduces the amount of income that you need if you go into retirement with little to no debt. So you want to make sure that you're getting rid of a lot of your major expenses. You also want to make sure you just have whatever the life insurance and planning, estate planning, wills, and things like that. I'll have all of that taken care of. This would be a great time to make sure. As you get older, it becomes much more difficult for you to get life insurance. So if that is a part of your plan, you want to make sure that you're going ahead and getting approved for that now. Also, if you're considering things like long-term care insurance, again, this is something that you'd want to start looking at now because insurance is something you have to be approved for. So you want to make sure that you're reaching out to be able to start that process at a moment in time when you are able to get approved. Now, if you're someone who feels like you could get into the shape and the condition that would allow you to get approval again, now you have your plan 10 years out. So you're able to start making improvements in your exercise and your health routine that allows you to get that approval if that's a part of your plan. You just want to simply decide, is it a part of your plan? Do I still need life insurance? Am I going to make sure that we have long-term care in place? This will be the time for you to make sure that all of that is taken care of. And last but not least, you want to make sure that you set your retirement age or the year that you're going to retire. Most of us have this feeling where we're like, yeah, I'm going to retire, sometime around, and then, we'll say an age, sometime around like 40, sometime around like 70. But we don't really have the year that's set. This would be a great time to go ahead and set the year. As I mentioned in the beginning, you want to make sure that you know where you're starting and where you're going. So you would just want to decide what year do you want to retire. Now, for some of you, that number is going to change, and that's okay. It is not saying that everything that we've written down today, 10 years out, is exactly what has to happen by the time I retire. But it is saying that this is where I'm at today. This is where my goals are today. My expenses, my aspirations, this is where I'm at today. Now, you want to make sure that you look at this every couple years, every year, just to see where you're at. Do you still agree with the plan? Are you able to contribute more? Are you still on track? And I'll put a link to the video of what to do when you're 5 years out, because as you get closer, things may change, and then you want to add some other aspects that you want to be considering when you're 5 years out from retirement. If you have any additional retirement questions, I am always here for you, Wisdomites. Remember, wisdom is asking the right questions to allow yourself to get the right answers. Keep asking those questions and you will keep getting those answers. Continue blessings.